Hello, everybody. I'm Allie.
I'm Thomas.
And today we are here with Grace Schofield.
Hi.
Grace is the owner of a skate and vintage shop in Orillia, Ontario. And today we're going to ask her questions about entrepreneurship, how she got into it, and why everybody should be buying things from Pocket Skate and Vintage.
Yeah.
Okay, first of all, how did we meet?
Okay, so I actually lived down the street. I think it was like during COVID. There's a park just like a block away. It had snowed. It was like the first snow of the year, I think.
This is 2 years ago, right?
Yeah. We went to this park and set up some tubes just to do some like snowboarding. And I walked down the street in my snowboard boots and had my snowboard. And Allie and Thomas were over at the park. And they had like one of those POW surfer boards. And we're like, oh, what the heck? Like, who are these people? Like, how do we not know them? We clearly have the same interests and we're like around the same age. Yeah, we just kind of snowboarded for a bit that day. And we were hosting a movie night at the shop the next day. We were watching a snowboard video and I invited them. I did not expect them to show up. And they showed up and I couldn't remember what their names were. And yeah, the rest is history.
I love that. Now she can't get rid of us.
Yeah, it's true.
How were you in school? Did you enjoy school?
Yeah,
That's a good question.
I only did college for a year. I did
what about
before that?
Yeah, let's go like elementary school.
Elementary. Okay. I was like a bit of a troublemaker, I would say. Like
bad words?
Yeah, I got like suspended once. I was always in the principal's office.
Nice. What did you get suspended for?
Beating someone up. Yeah, and it's funny because that person also got suspended. So I think it was just like a mutual thing. Like we were just fighting. And
that's a good way to twist the
solve
story.
problems.
Yeah. Looking back, I'm like, that other person didn't really do anything. If anything, like I should have been the one who was suspended. But anyway, I digress. Elementary school was always getting into trouble. And then I feel like in 8th grade, I would kind of like turn a new leaf. And then in high school, I went to a Catholic school for 1 year. Before I even got there, I knew I was going to hate it. I remember going in the summer to like buy the uniforms and like going to the uniform store and
RJ McCarthy.
Yeah, McCarthy's. Whoever you are, go fuck yourself.
We're actually interviewing him next week.
Went to a Catholic school for 1 year. Hated it. I was causing a little trouble there too. I think I got in the principal's office a few times for uniform stuff mostly. And like skipping school. And then I switched to the public school in town and it was a lot better. I really liked it. I think probably my biggest takeaway in high school was doing a co-op. I loved co-op. I think that really helped me get to...
Where did you do a co-op?
At a yoga studio. That place that we were looking at. That actually helped me form like so many connections. And you'd think like, oh, you're like 17, 18. Like, you know, those connections can't really be like super important. But now I think that's why I was able to like get to where I am now, because people already recognized me, like, and I was a familiar face, like working downtown and stuff, and just meeting people at the studio, and you really get a personal connection with them because you have to know their name when you're like checking them in.
Yes.
Yeah, I love co-op. I think like every high school student should do co-op.
I agree. I did it too. I used mine to nap a lot, but
I did my co-op there. I ended up working there full time. It was like my first full-time job after high school. I took a year off, worked there full time, and then went to college. Went to Georgian.
So throughout this time, are you thinking like, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to open my own store? That was 100%. Like always something you kind of knew?
Yeah.
Okay.
I always thought it would be a cafe. Up until like I worked at the yoga studio, every job I had was like in a cafe.
Right.
My first job was in a restaurant. I figured like that's what I would be doing. And then I was just kind of waiting for the right time. Like I still felt like really young, so it felt like very unattainable at that point. I was working out all these places just to like gain experience, and I think at that point I had maybe worked at like 4 different cafes, so I was getting a really good sense of like what works, what doesn't, what does a good cafe boss look like, and all those sort of things, and like, you know, what hours work really well, or like location, like that kind of thing.
Yeah. And what does a bad boss look like? Did you learn that one?
Yeah.
From experience?
Yes. I look back a lot. As someone now who owns a business, I look back a lot on like the bosses I worked for, and like I truly believe that like entrepreneurs are all crazy in their own way, and it's like one compartment is maybe like they're workaholics, like and I feel like that's very like you, like you're a little bit of a workaholic. Or you used to be.
We're not asking. We're not asking. It's not my interview.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, I truly believe that we're all like a little bit crazy in our own way, and I think for others that manifests in maybe not treating your employees very well. So, being a victim to that, I've just kind of like taken that in and been like, okay, like I never want to be that person for my staff. Definitely learned that through experience. And I think that's something that everybody should maybe go through.
I agree. I have always said, I think every single person should work a service job at some point, like
minimum wage
with a garbage manager. And that'll humble you. And you can tell when people haven't worked in service before because they're mean.
And it was like my first boss at the cafe I worked at. It was me and one other girl, and he was like so awesome. Like I loved working for him. Like we just felt like such a close knit like little family. I feel like I had one that she's like very respectable, not as close with her, but like, you know, she made sure that we felt like important and that we were all
valued.
Like in the machine, you know, but at the same time, it's like, oh, I feel this place can't run without me. So it deters you from like calling in sick when you really need a sick day, or taking a shift when you really just need to like relax for a day. And then like I've had another one who's just like completely not trusting, and you just kind of always felt like you're walking on eggshells, and you're just like, ooh, I don't want to be here. It makes a difference, like regardless if your boss is there all the time or not, because like when I have had like shitty bosses, I'm like always waiting for them to just like show up.
Guns blazing. When you were a kid, did you have any like little hustles? Were you a little lemonade stand girly?
I was a hustler. Like
a lemonade stander?
I used to sell like tie-dye t-shirts out of my locker in grade 10, like I used to be like, okay, Allie, like what color do you want? What size t-shirt? Okay, bring $25 to school tomorrow. And I used to do socks too. Really? So I just buy
socks?
like a giant bag of like Hanes socks from like Walmart for like $5 or whatever, and sell each pair for like $5. So it's like I just sold like 30 pairs of socks for $5 each.
How long were you doing that for?
I don't know. Like I was in grade 10, a little while until like the hype like wore off. But I was hustling, you know.
How did you get sales? Like
well, I
just told everyone?
Like I think it started because I was making them for myself. And then I would wear them like in gym class and stuff. And be like, where'd you get that? Like, make me one, I'll pay you. And then it was just like eventually like, okay, like I'm taking orders, let's go. I think I was in high school still. I was making like jewelry, like wire wrapped like crystal jewelry and stuff, and selling like paintings and stuff like that. And I used to do like a lot of weaving, like the wall hanging weaving. That was after high school, I think, or I was in like grade 12.
All the while you had about 15 jobs on the go.
Like when I was in high school, it was crazy. I was working like 3 jobs. Sometimes I think back, I'm like, what the hell happened to me? Like, why am I not like that anymore?
In school? That is crazy.
But I like had 2 like art shows at like different cafes downtown, and I was like selling work and stuff. But
so you got that dog in you.
Sure.
The hustle dog.
Okay, and you're also, I feel like, are a big sports head. When did you get into skateboarding and snowboarding?
I remember being in 5th grade, and wanting to know how to snowboard so bad. Mm-hmm. And I was just talking to Dylan about this the other day, actually, one of my staff, and he was watching, I think, like a bomb hole episode or whatever. I can't remember who the guest was, but she was talking about how her snowboard journey like started with watching a Too Hard video. I don't know if you guys know who like Too Hard is, but they're like a female like snowboard crew, and I remember seeing that like somewhere, and I was like, damn, like this is
shit.
sick. I was like, I want to be like this so bad. So yeah, I think I saw that, and then I was like begging my parents for a snowboard, and they got me a Roxy snowboard, which I still have, and like Firefly bindings.
Nice.
And I had like Burton boots. They were all on clearance at Sport Check.
Yeah.
My parents were like, we're not buying you good stuff like from the existing shop in town because it's too expensive. We're buying you like stuff that's been sitting in Sport Check for the last 3 years that they just want to get rid of it. So yeah, snowboarded like since probably the 5th grade, like off and on. And then it wasn't until I was like 17 or 18 that I really got into it. I didn't have many friends who snowboarded. Like when I was in the 5th grade, there were like 2 boys I knew that snowboarded. And like one girl that was also getting into it at the same time as me. I feel like a lot of kids, if they were out at the hill, they were skiing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Skateboarding.
When was that?
The first time I ever stepped on a skateboard, I knocked the wind out of myself. I was probably like 5 or 6.
Oh, like
my friend had one at her house. Yeah, and I like stepped on it, and it was the first time I like ever knocked the wind out of myself. So I was like, "Fuck that!
Yeah.
Never touching that thing again." Okay, yeah, and then when I actually started skateboarding, I was working at a
Sorry.
I was working at a skate shop. Like Skate Snow. We sold like bathing suits. It was like a surf shop kind of vibe. I remember in the spring, one day after work, the guys were going out, and they were like, "You should come to the park." And I was like, "I don't have a board." And my manager at the time, who's now my business partner, he was like, "Let's set one up for you." And I was like, "Dude, I don't have any money." And it was like tax return season. So he was like, "Once you get your tax return, just come and pay for it." Yep, got those mini logo trucks and wheels.
Nice.
And then it was a magenta deck. I still have it. Yeah, we went up to I think Huntsville, to the skate park up there. Yeah, rolled around a bit.
That was your first time?
Mm-hmm.
Was it intimidating?
No, because like Mark and Dylan were there. So it was like, and everybody knows those guys.
Yeah.
So it's like you show up with like the homies and everyone's like, "Oh, who are you?" Like, you know, like you must be cool if like you're showing up with these guys.
Yeah.
And it's like, meanwhile, I'd never stepped on a board before.
The only reason why I felt comfortable going was because you guys had the group. So you mentioned Mark. When did you two decide it was time to start your own thing?
So to make a long story long, we had worked at this surf shop together for I think like 3 years. Mark had been there for 18 years. So heavily experienced in the field. And then one day I was like literally out at Canadian Tire, and I saw like a friend like / regular, and she was like, "Yeah, crazy about Mark, eh?" And I was like, "Huh?" And she was like, "Yeah, he quit. I went down to the store and it's closed." And I was like, my whole world was just like shattering because I loved this job. Like I was getting paid minimum wage, and my mom was telling me to get like a real job. And I was like, there's no fucking way. I'm working at this place till I go to the grave. Like it's the best job ever.
Yeah.
Called him. He's like, "Yeah, I quit." And Dylan quit too, who was like the assistant manager. So I'm like, okay, there's no way I'm staying in this place now. Yeah, Mark basically was like, let's open our own place. And I was selling vintage on the side at the time. He was like, let's do skate and snow, and then we'll have a vintage section too. Ooh. And I was like, that is such an awesome idea. And I think that was in like late June, maybe early July of 2020. And we opened on August 15th. So it was like,
oh my God,
very fast.
I did not realize it was that quick.
Yeah, the dog was going on.
Yeah, the dog was howling.
So that was like peak COVID.
Yeah.
How was that in terms of the
starting a business?
Yeah, like was that scary? Or was it like you're just like excited to get this shit going?
I feel like there are definitely advantages and disadvantages. Like, I don't think the store would exist if it weren't for COVID because, like, we got our funding through, like, collecting CERB.
True.
Like, that's how we were able to, without, like, you know, getting, like, a loan or whatever, like, that's how we were able to, you know, get the bare bones together was by having, like, some money saved up because we were just locked up for, like,
yeah, you couldn't, or whatever. For context, for people not in Ontario, like, stores were shut down. Yeah. I know in a lot of spots, but, like, we were shut down for a very long time, so.
Yeah.
It was on and off for 2 years?
Yeah, so we went through 2 of the lockdowns, which was definitely a con. Yeah. There were definitely times there where I was like, damn, like, this is shitty. Like,
yeah.
Like, definitely, like, having, like, second thoughts and being like, fuck, like, if we can just get through this week, maybe they'll open stuff up again. And
yeah.
I remember being like, this is probably not what the anti-vaxxers want to hear, but there was a thing in Ontario where they were putting out a thing where saying, like, if this many Ontarians get vaccinated, that's when we'll open up, like, restaurants, and then this is when retail will open again. Right. So I'm, like, texting all my friends being like, you better fucking get vaccinated because or else I'm gonna be living on the street. Yeah. Like,
I was the same person, but not for that reason. I was like, I gotta get out of this effing house. I gotta get out of this freaking house.
Yeah, so we went through 2 lockdowns. We were fighting through, like, tooth and nail. Like, we made it through. I remember there's one time we put, like, a rack outside of the store. And meanwhile, no one's downtown to shop anyway. Yeah. It's like a ghost town. We were just down there, like, working on our website and everything. And someone called it bylaw on us and told us to bring our stuff inside or else, like, we would get a fine or ticket because we were just like, we need to sell stuff.
Yeah. Jeez.
And, like, usually we have, like, a really cute, like, window display. And at that time, we were just putting as much shit in the window as possible because we're like, maybe someone will come by. Yeah. There was, like, a point where we just had, like, a ton of shoes in the window because we were like, we got to sell this. Like,
it's so funny because when we first moved here, it was February 2021, and we went to B-Bay to get some food, and my sister was in town, and Jimmy was in the window.
Oh, yeah.
And he scared me. I was like, what is that? And Tom was like, oh, that's the skate shop. I'm like, oh, cool. And I still have a picture of Jimmy. But did you notice any benefits of it? Like, because there was the incentive for people to stay in Ontario, and, like, how did it affect, like, downtown's foot traffic and stuff?
I feel like during the summer, like, yeah, it was good because, like, people were traveling more, like,
locally,
domestically.
Yeah, we would have people coming from, like, you know, different provinces, and I'm like, what are you doing in Orillia?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? But, you know, they'd find, like, some blog article about, like, Mariposa Market, and they're like, we just thought it was cute here. And I'm like, okay, cool. Sure, there was such a push to, like, support local. And also, like, the skateboarding scene was, like, exploding at the time. So it was, like, the supply was very low and the demand was super high. So it was, like, anytime we were getting stuff, we're posting it on Instagram, and, like, it's being snatched up by the end of the day.
Right.
So you were selling vintage before. What got you into vintage shopping and, like, secondhand shopping and thrifting?
So I've always been a big, like, antique head. Like, even since I was a kid, like, I remember, like, kids, like, saving up money and being like, oh, I'm gonna go buy, like, an iPod or something, and I was like, I'm gonna go buy the dresser from the antique store. I'm gonna, like, so excited. My 2 dressers in my bedroom, and, like, I had 1 chair. They were all from the antique store.
That, like, you
and
bought,
I bought
like,
them,
saving as a kid?
Yes.
Like, how young?
Well, like, not a kid, but, like, teenager.
Okay.
They're, like, the one job I was telling you guys about at the cafe. So in the back, it was an antique store. So it was all connected. So they would often put, like, displays in the front and stuff. And so come into work and there'd be, like, new stuff. And I remember I would work, get paid, and then I would, like, put a payment on my dresser that was sitting in the antique store.
That's crazy.
That's so funny.
And I still have them both. They're both in my basement. They're not really being used, but I'm like, I don't want to let them go.
That's so sentimental.
Yeah.
That's so wholesome though. But that's that like interior design kind of creative style too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it kind of, I think it started with that. Like I had always been really into antiquing. Like I remember in the summers, like my mom and I would just go to different like antique stores, and 15 or 16, like the surge of thrifting kind of started.
Yeah.
And I just always remember like going to the thrift store and finding cool stuff and being like, oh, I wish this would fit me, or I know someone who like this would fit. I don't know if they would like it though.
Yeah.
And like finding really cool like vintage stuff, like, you know, back in like 2016 when everyone wanted like a bright pink and blue like windbreaker.
Yes. And it was before really like, I even remember when I was in high school, it was not cool to be thrifting. Like you had to be on the fashion blogs. Like I remember like what like searching fashion blogs, and like they're like, oh, I thrifted this. I'm like, I gotta get into these stores.
Yeah.
But it wasn't cool.
Was that before Macklemore's thrift shop?
That's kind of where the idea of selling vintage came from.
From Macklemore.
No, from like being at the stores and, you know, being like, oh, I wish I could buy this and bring it home because it's so cool. And like, I don't know if anyone else like appreciates this the way I do, but I'm not going to be able to put it to use. So I would love to like put it out there to like a demographic that will.
And I feel like a lot of people don't have the patience to actually go to the thrift store for hours and sort through everything, which kind of leads me to my next thing. Like, how do you feel about people being like, you can't like resell, like going to the thrift shop is like, and then reselling is shady?
Yeah. I think those people are dumb.
Controversial.
We can edit this out.
Also,
no, don't, because they need to know. Because
it is 2012.
2012.
That's when thrift shop came out.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was on it before me for sure.
Because you were born
in 2011.
Okay.
Yeah, no. I think people like that are really stupid, because if you look and see in like different countries the amount of waste and textile waste they receive, you know,
enormous.
Yeah, because like, countries like Canada, the States, like, you know, some European countries, they ship all their garbage over to these places. And like, you can go to Mexico and like, they call it like American clothing stores. It's just used like clothing that they've gotten from the States. It's like insane. Unless you're being like super unethical about it and like selling t-shirts for like $500, then I'm like, okay, that's a bit too much in my opinion.
I agree.
I mean, either way, it's like the clothing industry is like, especially if you're buying like from like fast fashion brands, it's like the markup on that is like already
exorbitant.
And it's garbage.
Yeah.
It's garbage. Yeah. It's like you're not going to go buy a pair of jeans from Shein or whatever, even like Zara, or even like tiers higher than that.
Yeah.
And they're not going to last you like the same amount of time that a pair of Levi's would.
Yeah.
Because they're full of like elastane and like just crappy cheap materials. So, yeah. And they just end up in the trash way sooner.
And even like just going, because Grace and I do thrift a lot together. When you go to the thrift store regularly, yes, you'll see a few of the same things, but the turnover is like astronomical. Like just at a local thrift shop. Like if you, and there's constantly cars going in and out. So I agree. That's not to say that I don't think Value Village is a great place.
Yeah, agreed. It sucks.
Like, and they do, like, jeans shouldn't be $20 at the thrift. And I get that it is like definitely a resource for low income people, but there is just so much stuff.
Going on top of that, I think the big argument for the people making the comments about how like resellers suck and stuff is because they believe like us resellers are the ones making the prices go higher and higher, when in reality it's the greed of Value Village. It's the corporate greed of Value Village. Like, people have been reselling for years. What do you think antique stores are? Why aren't they getting any slack? Why is it people who are just like selling shit on Instagram?
Us lowly folk need to get together and start dragging the corporations instead of the little. And
that's what they want you to do. They want you to like turn against the reseller, so you're not mad at the corporation. You're mad at the people supporting the corporation.
You know what's so funny is we actually have a Value Village sponsorship coming up next week.
Imagine. What was like, okay, I wanted to ask this. How did you launch the store, or like the grand opening? Like, who did you tell? Like, how did you get people in the door? Like,
good question.
Because I didn't know Pocket Skate Vintage when it opened. I found out later. So.
Right. So it was still COVID. You got to wear a mask inside and everything. Mm-hmm. So we had our grand opening like day, and I look back at photos. I'm like, what the hell is this? There's nothing in there. Cause like I said, the supply chain issues going on were nuts. I think we had like 6 decks on the wall to sell.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did they like sell out? Like,
yeah. Like right away. And yeah, like maybe like 2 sets of trucks or something. Like we couldn't get anything. We had a huge party, and everyone was supposed to be wearing masks, but we got it fully catered. And nice. It was like shoulder to shoulder in there. And it was super fun. It was basically just like, we're already so integrated in the community, not only downtown, but within like the skate and snow community as well. So like everyone kind of knew what was up. Like, lots of people thought Mark owned the shop that we used to work at.
Okay.
So it was like, everyone's like, oh, Mark's not here anymore. Like, what's he doing?
So you already had that word of mouth community, and you do a lot of community building stuff.
Mm-hmm. We love, hanging out with the homies and getting everyone down to the skate park and raising funds to
build a new
skate park. And like improve the one that's already there. We'll do like a Halloween skate jam, go skate day, weekly events. Like I do a ladies and LGBTQ plus skate night. I just wanted to make the skate park feel like warm and welcoming for everybody, and hopefully give them like the same experience that I had, and give them enough confidence to like go to the park on their own.
Yeah.
At the same time, on the same night, the guys will do like a men at work, they call it, but really anybody can go. And they'll go to like a street spot, fix it up, bring the Bondo, whatever. And then in the winter, we've teamed up with Horseshoe Resort. Shout out Horseshoe. We'll do like monthly competitions, bi-weekly, just like ride nights, demo nights, that sort of thing. I am a huge like scaredy cat. So I feel like skateboarding and snowboarding really helps me get out of my comfort zone. And even still, I do struggle with it a lot. Like there's sometimes like I go to the skate park, and for, 5 sessions, I'm just doing the exact same thing every time I'm there, because I'm like, I'm not trying anything new. I'm scared.
Yeah.
And then like you go do something and you feel so good and accomplished, and you're like, why was I scared of that? That was so easy. And then you're able to like put that into perspective, like not just in terms of like skateboarding, but also like
IRL.
Yeah. Like, when you're like afraid to ask someone something, and then you're like, oh, you know what? The worst thing that could happen is like the person says no.
Yeah.
So like, just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's like when you're skateboarding, it's like the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to fall.
Yeah.
And it's like, then you fall and you're fine. And me and my partner Andy talk about a lot how like you can't have a good like skate sesh unless you've like fallen.
Yeah.
And then once you fall, you're like skating like the best you've ever skated.
Yeah.
Because you're ripping that Band-Aid off.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely. It's like I feel like a lot of skateboarders and snowboarders like know that maybe they haven't verbalized it, but it's like you have to fall. And like a lot of people are like so afraid of failing in like general life that like I know like that's something that I learned from like snowboarding. Is like and you can't get better unless you're like falling on
when
your
you've
face.
had a really bad fall too, getting back out there. Like I just had a bad fall snowboarding a few weeks ago. And,
yes,
we should put the clip on.
Yeah. It's really fucked. I knew that night I had to go back out and do like 3 more runs, because I was like, if I don't do it now, I'm never getting back on my snowboard.
Yeah.
And I think that marries so well with like entrepreneurship too, is because like there's so many things, well, just life period, but I think when you're in control, like as an owner, it's like, this is up to me in the same way that like trying this trick is up to me, and I have to be okay with it going wrong. That's not what I'm going to wish for, are going to manifest it going well.
Yeah.
But knowing that you're going to be okay if it does.
Yeah.
If
and it's your choice.
Yeah.
Whereas like if you work for someone else, you're like, fuck, I could get fired.
Yeah.
But if it's you, you're like, okay, well, I'll just try it again, I guess.
You launched a Pocket Skate and Vintage, and you had a website, or at the time when you were on like COVID time schedule, were the orders like still mostly online?
Yeah, because we were doing like a lot of curbside pickup.
Okay.
So between like that and like Instagram, just like DMs, like people would see stuff that we post and they're like, oh, can we get this?
Okay. So would you say it was like primarily like DMs, or were people like finding your website and like?
Oh, people were not finding our website.
Okay.
They were just like, they were on our Instagram and then they like, or they're local and they wanted to like see what the shop was about. So they like Googled it, but it wasn't like people in Toronto or even different provinces were like looking up like skate shops to support, and like we weren't the ones coming up, you know?
Right. You guys have like your retail store that's like established, got the website now, which is on Shopify.
Using beta version of Space, which we got no timeline for when that will be coming out, but
if you want to see it in action, go to www.pocketskatevintage.com.
Yeah, we even did a little custom game on the bottom. If you're on desktop,
you
should play it.
It's cool. So sick. Like,
what's the high score on it?
I think it's like 83. I checked the other day. I'm so grateful for you guys because you really made like our website feel so personal, and that's what we really wanted. Like before, we were just using like a template that like, you know, what we were using is called like Weebly. It's kind of like, you know, Squarespace, where you go on and you just build everything yourself, but it's like you could go on someone else's website and it's like it looks exactly like yours. The difference with you guys is like you're able to make everything feel so personal,
like cohesive.
Yeah. And I'll check out like other websites that you guys have built and I'm like, oh, like, or like people who are using your theme, and I'm like, I can't tell that this person is like using the same theme as this other person because it feels like
completely different,
their very own thing, which is awesome. But yeah, Thomas built us a game on the website.
I did,
and I think that definitely really helps with the personal aspect because it just makes being on the website like so fun. And sometimes like I'll be like going to add stuff to the site and then I'm like, ooh, the game, let me play the game for a minute. Because when you come into the shop, it's like
you have the vibe.
Yeah, like people come in just to hang out. Like there's lots of like high schoolers who like don't have a place to go after school. So it's like they come into Pocket and like chill, watch a skate video. And I was like, I want that same exact feeling, but for like our online customers. And I was really stumped on like how to do that until you guys like came into the picture. You were able to like provide so much feedback, and like it felt like you guys were really like, I don't know, like Willy Wonka or something. It was like anything we wanted, you guys were like, yeah, let's do it.
That's so cool.
So,
well, actually, our next video is actually sponsored by Walkin' Chocolates.
Allie helped at Christmas time like do a gift guide, and then once Christmas was over, I was like, oh, like what am I gonna put in those blocks now that like Christmas is over? I did like our staff picks. So you go on our website and it's like a picture of like me, one of Mark, and one of Dylan. You can like go check out like what our favorite things on the online store are. And it's like, even if you don't know us, like you kind of get a sense of like who we are.
Yeah, like your names are on the
And
website.
I love that because you have that in store too. So it's like cool to like put it online
and give the customer, oh, speaking of,
he's coming in. We got trivia in 20 minutes.
So what are the
Mark?
We're doing a podcast.
Guy?
What? Yeah, podcast?
Yeah, you're gonna be on the next
episode. Well, geez.
Guys, this is my business partner.
Am I there? Hi.
Yeah. Mark, what's your favorite part of the website, the new website?
Oh my God, too many to number. Ease of use to it and display. Everything's just like there and visible. I actually had some people the other day that I was talking to about our website that were just like random customers that have used it and we're like, oh yeah, it's so much better now. The other one was like really hard to navigate, and this one's like it's right there and awesome.
And there's a game on it.
Yeah, and there's a game on it, which is.
Did you just make that up?
No, I didn't. I'm really good on the fly, but no, that's an actual anecdote. It happened like 2 days ago. Yeah.
What are like plans to? I think like obviously you guys want to like improve like the online website, like more like grow like your online sales. Like
what are some future plans
what
for
does that
Pocket?
look like
Like
for the next like 5 years?
Damn,
Like think big.
So far,
just like
stay in business.
Yeah,
don't go out of
stay in
business.
Stay in business.
We have been talking a lot about focusing more on vintage in the store, because like it's a huge thing for us. It's a huge reason why like a lot of the people come in the store. But it's always kind of just been like, I feel like not really on like the back burner, but not like a top priority.
Yeah, more of an after.
Yeah.
Even though it's one of the better moving products in the store.
The sun setting. We are so happy to have had you on the podcast, Grace.
Aww,
it's been so fun.
Thanks
Thank you for being
us.
our first. I'm saying podcast. This is a video, but we can make it a podcast.
I would call it a vlog.
We are going to link all the Pocket stuff down below. You should support a great local skate shop. Local to me.
Sorry, Mark in the background. But yeah, check out our website if you want to see what space is looking like.
We will talk to you guys later in our next video.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Bye.